o'clock news and politics hour. 3 o'clock with The Taste with Rick Simone was all about weddings. GoLocal has a new weddings feature that we will be presenting additional guests and information moving forward on, both on live and on our website. So be sure to check out the wedding section. There'll be a lot of offerings there on GoLocal. But it's news and politics right now. And nothing more news and political than the Pawtucket Red Sox. And we've got Michael Sabitoni. He's been a guest here before in studio with us to talk a little bit about the laborers angle. Come on in, Michael. Nice to see you, sir.
How are you?
You've been
Nice
here.
to see you.
Come step a little closer. Here we are, middle of November. We saw the House and Senate hearings.
Yep.
Where are we with the Paw Sox?
I think we're in the seventh inning stretch. I'll use a baseball term.
Seventh inning stretch.
I've actually had the opportunity to attend all but one. I've appreciated the process. I commend the Senate for doing their diligence, which I believe was asked by the Senate to kind of take the lead and go through that process, as well as the House Finance Committee to hold a couple of hearings as well. So I'm hopeful and confident that within the next week or so that good work will be unveiled and they'll have something to consider in the very near future. So
talk with viewers. We've had you here in studio before about the support, what this would mean for the building and trades community, and then we'll move forward with some Q&A. So tell viewers, how many jobs?
I mean, when you're looking at the initial construction of the stadium, could be anywhere between 300 and 400 construction jobs. You'll have some work that'll need to be done to remediate the site. You'll have some additional work that'll need to happen to shore up the environmental concerns around the river, maybe some additional infrastructure. So, I mean, there's considerable construction activity with the initial constructing of the stadium. And then, obviously we're also really excited about the potential of the investments that would go around the ballpark, using that investment as the catalyst. So, I mean, that could create hundreds, even a lot more construction jobs as private development comes in. So it's not just the initial construction of the stadium itself, which would be would have an impact on the construction ranks in Rhode Island, but it's also what the potential is all the way around it and the investments.
Now, what do you have to say, Mike, to the numbers that you see out there of folks who might have some opposition to the public funding going towards this? When you see those numbers and you see that opposition specifically, because there's a lot of folks who say, I'm not against the Paw Sox, I'm not against a new stadium, I am against public funding for this. What do you say to those folks?
Where have you been the last 40 years? It's no different than what you've got going on right now. I mean, the initial McCoy Stadium was built with public money. It's been owned and operated by the state of Rhode Island, leased back through the city of Pawtucket to the Paw Sox. We refurbished it, 20 some odd years ago for the $25–30 million. There was another upgrade at one particular point. So we already own a ballpark. We already have that relationship with the Paw Sox. We've had it for close to 40 years, and this would ensure that we'd have it for another 30 years. And when you look at the investment, I mean, I have a saying when I'm traveling around, I'm talking to people, that I think this issue has become politicized, or people don't really understand the current structure that we already have, as well as the potential that would happen to keep this iconic franchise right down the street from Fenway Park, their AAA affiliate, right here in Pawtucket. It's really de minimis what we're looking to do when you look at other financing arrangements around the baseball, as well as, I also say this, if Ben Mondo was alive, he would have had the money 8 months ago.
Well, what do you have to say to folks who say that it's a group of ownership that's billionaires? This isn't the same playing field it was 50 years ago. A lot of folks point to that. What do you say to that?
That is unfair as well, because that's just the way that that business, whether it's baseball, football, pharmacy, defense, there is always incentives in business for companies, corporations, and owners. And developers that come into town that want to develop certain things, you don't go look at their private net worth when they're looking to propose something. There are always agreements that are in place. There are stabilization agreements. There are tax incremental financing. There's always something. There's job creation, tax credits. So the way that business is done in this day and age, it happens to, just this is the way it's done in baseball as well, regardless of who the owner is.
So you say we're in the seventh inning stretch, and one of the things that you pointed to is one of the last things we've heard from Senate Finance Chair Conley, who said that he wanted that information from the owners. Do you think that's a valid question? Do you think he'll get it?
I truly believe and have full confidence in Stephen Pryor and his team at Commerce, and it's no different than some of the other developments that are dealt with around the town. There is certain proprietary information. If people are capable and able to get financing, so I have full confidence in the team that has vetted this proposal. That if there is proprietary information for certain things, that what's going to be put forth through the Senate and then hopefully transferred over to the House is something that can be supported.
Now, one of the things we've seen as well is some elected officials saying, why not put it on the ballot? What's your thoughts on that?
Well, from what I understand, it's the timing of it. If there's not something in place when the lease expires, that there would be the ability at this particular point to entertain offers from Worcester, which I know I represent. I have my brothers and sisters from my Worcester local. And they're actually excited and hopeful, not that they don't want to see my brothers and sisters in the Providence area building trades, but they'd be more than happy to welcome something like this, as would a few other different communities. So it's timing, it's the fact that other communities might be able to do it quicker, the expiration of the lease, the deterioration of the ballpark currently, so all those factors, I think, have that going against it. The other thing is this: when you're talking about something that is really minimal to an extent on a development scenario for public-private partnership, if we're going to start putting things of this nature on the ballot, then quite frankly, then we might as well put the whole budget on the ballot at certain times and what have you, and the General Assembly can take the rest. They can just take it off, because this is not a ballot question worthy thing in all due respect. And again, I think once the facts come out, once you look at it, there is no alternative for Pawtucket. There is none. And it would be a real shame for people in Rhode Island if for some reason that the politicization of this issue allows this iconic franchise to go somewhere else. For the rest of our lives, we drive through 195 around that curve and think about what could have been. That would be a damn shame, because the alternative is exactly that. Nothing will change, and Pawtucket will continue to spiral down. I know that Apex building's been there a long time. Nobody else is knocking on the door.
That Apex building, and a lot of water damage. You drive by, you see kind of the rust coming down it. So talk with us, a little bit about the politics. You have mentioned the interjection. We saw that Pawtucket has been sending mailers to the Speaker's District because of his role within the process. Would you say that those folks who support it, that the laborers and those supporters of a new stadium, in the event it becomes a vote and it becomes a heated vote for individuals, and we see 2018, would you support those individuals that vote yes on this if it goes to a vote?
Absolutely. My members will support them. We are very politically active. This is not, again, just about the immediate construction jobs. It's about the overall economy. It's the state as a whole, the Blackstone Valley. We think that this is a catalyst to really turn around that area. You've got Memorial that's just closed. You've got other issues that are happening, and potential relocations of other firms from Pawtucket, maybe to Providence. And Pawtucket needs to turn it around, and I think this could be the catalyst. And all we're asking for is, if this gets to the process, and we do have a piece of legislation that's been vetted, that comes through the Senate Finance and then through passes the full Senate and then is transferred to the House, then I'll use another baseball term: take it up, put it to a vote, and myself and my members will be calling balls and strikes.
Balls and
as
strikes.
We get into an election year next year.
We are certainly within the election cycle right now. How often are you in conversations with leadership, with members about this? You say we're sort of in the stretch right now, but we continue to see it clearly at the forefront. How often are you in conversations?
Constantly, not just leadership, but all the reps and senators that we have relationships with, which are quite a few of them. If you really think about this, when you try and look at vision and courage, if you listen, there's a lot of vocal minority that comes out that really go out there. If you look at those hearings, probably 80% of the people that were against this were the same at every hearing. They followed the hearings around. But the people that were for it, we're also from the the Paw Sox and the trades and what have you that were from those areas. But there were also local people that came out from those communities to say, we support this. Think about if we didn't have any vision and courage, what Providence would look like without the Providence Place Mall, without the Providence Civic Center, without the Westin Hotel, without relocating these rivers. All of these were done with public monies to push, the city forward. And they were controversial, and, I think the Providence Place Mall passed by 1 vote, but now people are proud about Providence. We talk about water fire, we talk about people, engaged and want to come down to the city of Providence, at night. None of that wouldn't happen if these people didn't have some courage and vision, and we need that same courage and vision in Pawtucket, because nothing's gonna happen in Pawtucket if this doesn't happen. And this really is, you're really getting to the weeds. You already own a ballpark. You're gonna lose $2.5 million in tax money already. The concern about Pawtucket to pay its bills, it's like $800,000 a year for them to pay down their debt. You've got a tried and tested franchise for 40 years. You've got the International League where a franchise that's never gone bankrupt and they have to step in. You've got the Boston Red Sox, less than an hour away, that you think they would let their AAA franchise go bankrupt and not like the ability to have their guys drive up 95 and play that same night when they need them. It's just the politicization of this. And, so have the courage that's going through the process. When the legislation comes out, and I believe that they would have made it a little bit better. Put it up for a vote and do your job as a rep or a senator. If you like it, vote yes. If you don't, vote no. And we'll be there just to make sure that we're watching how it plays out.
I mean, could we see a deja vu from the end of the session? Could we see something on the Senate side? We do know that Senate President Dominic Ruggiero wants to see something move. We have had House Speaker Nick Mattiello in here a little more cautious. Could there be an event that the Senate goes back in and he says, I'm still going to wait till 18?
I would not play chicken at this particular point. I don't know how long is too long to push it along until you've got the most renowned recent ballpark developer, Larry Lucchino, and his team. We should be actually consider ourselves fortunate to have these people here that have already done this. This is not something, we think it might work. It's already worked in Baltimore and San Diego. So we should actually feel fortunate that they want to do this in Pawtucket. As far as, pushing it off or playing chicken, at what point, do they push it too far and they say, well, now we have to go consider something else? I wouldn't chance that, because if you do that, then what do you say? I was only kidding, come back? So, if your real intent is to push them away, then keep delaying it. My suggestion is, when the time is right, then the decision's gonna be made. And the decision should be, put it out on the floor for a vote, and if you're for it, vote for it.
So we're standing here November 15th. You use some baseball analogies, but if you're a betting man, if you're a Vegas odds maker, will we see something within the next month?
I think you'll see something in the next month come out of the Senate, yes.
Okay, well, we'll probably have you back in here if that's the case, but I know you said, I want to come back in, Kate. We're in the 7th inning stretch. Wanted you to come back in with kind of the new information from the hearing, some of the polling numbers. I'm sure we'll be talking in short order.
Yeah, and when that does happen, if it does happen, and when it does happen out of the Senate, then all the attention's going to be turned towards the House. So they'll own it.
The heat is on.
They'll own it.
I appreciate your coming in today, Mike
Thank
Sabitoni.
you.
We will
Have a
talk
nice
soon.
day.
Okay,
Thank
I'll
you.
leave you around the corner.
Bye-bye.